My name is Gregory Gordon. I'm 70 years old. I was born in Ohio. I've been in Salinas for 2.5 years in a place called Dorothy's place, the house of, it's really the house of hell, but the house of peace. I demand that the city council do something about the way the people are treated there. They're beat down, not beat up, and they don't seem to be trying to help people get off their whatever. They tell me that, Mr. Gordon, we leave at 5 o'clock. If there's a problem, can you deal with it? I don't work here. I don't work for you. I'm one of the people that should be getting help. I work in the entertainment business, and when it went down because of COVID, I was kind of left homeless, and I got a room at the house of, from the state of California in the Marina, and then they brought me to the House of Peace. I left Thursday to go to Long Beach to apply for work so I can get out of here and up on my feet. When I left, Roman, the director, called me and said that all your stuff is being thrown in the garbage and you're no longer welcome on the program and you're out in the streets. I got back last night, I couldn't get in. I went by there today, and as soon as I got there, they called 911 and said that I was being disrespectful and respectful and threatening. And what I said to Roman is, I'll see you in court. And I will see him in court. My next stop is to Governor Newsom's office to let them know that there are people who are using the homeless thing to benefit but not help the homeless. And I demand that Jill Allen and Roman Perez be relieved of their duties because they're not doing anything to help people but to beat people up and take their money, my $350 a month, and not do anything. So I come before the city council because as of tonight, you're going to have one more person in the street sleeping when I shouldn't be. And there's something that needs to be done about people that are taking and not helping people, but beating them up and not trying to get them off their feet.
I'd like to see if I could get the city manager to follow up with the gentleman, see how we can support him. The gentleman who spoke about Dorothy's Kitchen.
So I'm Eloise Shim, and I'm a resident in District 3 of Salinas, fairly new resident. But I myself, I empathize with this man because I lived at Dorothy's place in 2014, and they did bully me relentlessly. Also, I'd like to say that California accounts for 1/3 of the nation's homeless. And among this population, seniors are estimated to be the fastest growing group. From 2017 to 2021, California's senior population grew by 7%, and the number of people over 55 who sought homeless services increased 84%. And that's according to the Homeless Data Integration System. For a comparison, the number of people accessing homelessness services across all ages was 43% during this time. But in the growing number, the research shows that people are more at risk if they're over 50 from losing shelter, and especially people who live alone, they're on fixed incomes, they have little or no savings. And the main contributor is that the California rents are soaring, and the Social Security, the people on Social Security and supplemental benefits has not kept up. Also, people who are over 50, a study shows, the homeless people who are over 50, their median age for death is 65. While other people who are housed, the median age is 76. So these people die. And the main causes of death are heart condition, cancer, and drug overdose.
You know, Mr. Kerrigan and Ms. Hunter, we're having these, as you already know, we're having a serious issue with encampments. And I've gone out to talk to some people, and I'm finding out that some people are falling through the cracks. You know, they're not They're not in need of mental health, they're not in need of substance abuse help. What has happened, some of them have gone through some kind of domestic issue, ended up in a homeless situation. What I'm going to ask Mr. Kerrigan and Ms. Hunter, I'm going to request a presentation. Some of these people are scared. I have to tell you, they're scared where they're ending up. I would like to see a presentation on a managed versus, I know, Ms. Hunter, you don't want the sanctioned encampment, but we have to figure something out for these folks. There's a small group of individuals in Chinatown that have gotten together. Some of them are homeless or unhoused, but they're willing to govern themselves. They're asking the city, find us a place, a safe place. We'll keep it clean. And I spoke to some of the owners of the Expedition Park, the Expo site. I think they're in Oakland. I think that's where I called. There's got to be something we can do where people that are in their cars, there's a parking area, but we got to do something. Sincerely, we have to do something. So I hope you take that into consideration.
I'd like to support you on that item.
Thank you. And the other thing, and thank you for looking at this, Carr Lake, and we do have a lot of undocumented folks. What brings a lot of folks to Salinas is our agriculture industry. So with our agriculture industry, people are hard workers. They come here for a better life, and sometimes they find out when they get here that it's a very expensive life to live here. So they end up, some of these folks are in their camps and they're going to work in the morning. Think about that. But what's happening is they're bringing a lot of trash as well. So I think we need to address that. So Carr Lake really needs our consideration. And just one final friendly reminder, Mayor Craig, Officer J. D. Alvarado after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will be your buddy on the request for discussion on managed and sanctioned encampments.
Chago?
Wanted to bring to the attention to the council, the Salinas police officers' Facebook posting, and we're really, as community members, as residents, really trying to understand some of the intention around the messaging. I look at one that was posted about a young resident who happened to wear skinny jeans. I don't think I need to read the post, but I think you all know which one I'm talking about, and really trying to understand how much energy, time, and imagination goes into these posts. What is the ultimate intention? What is the overall message around these pieces, and how much of their time how much of the work time is going into posting these pieces? I have a lot of questions about that myself. I know we can't really and get these questions answered in my 2-minute comment, but it is definitely leaving some type of impression. This was brought to me by a resident, by a neighbor, one of my neighbors. They're asking me if the Salinas Police Department gets paid to put this together, to put our taxpayers' money to invest it into this type of activity. I can't really speak on behalf of the Salinas Police Department regarding the use of these Facebook posts and these Instagram posts. But it really does do something to the imagination of the residents.
My name is Valeria Hernandez Melchor, and I'm a resident of Salinas. I wanted to start off by saying that it has not gone without notice that the Salinas Police Department has taken down its social media accounts. In the future, the Salinas PD should model due processes to avoid biases and prejudices. This is a good time for the SPD to thoroughly reassess its practices and choice of words when covering community members being detained or arrested by law enforcement. Although the SPD is not alone in how they choose to negatively and mockingly cover community members, we are encouraged that they will learn from their mistakes and use discernment.
Robin?
I'd like to compliment the council for taking up the the process of getting teams of paramedic and healthcare professionals together to complement the work of the police department in answering appropriate calls that police are not needed. This will save the city millions of dollars, and as a taxpayer, we all expect the city council and the heads of the different departments to use our taxpayers' money wisely. And this would be one of the wisest ways to use funds to complement police activity and help out the community without force. So I'm very pleased to hear that this is being taken up, and I appreciate it muchly. And also I'd like to say that police can be hired also from different types of backgrounds, such as social work and sociology, not just criminal justice. So I'd like to recommend that that be looked into as well, to change kind of the mindset of what policing can be. But I really do appreciate these teams getting together and saving the city potentially millions of dollars, which apparently from what people are saying is really needed elsewhere.
Hello, my name is Tito Ayala. You guys seen me here about 2 weeks ago. So just to give you guys a brief description of what's going on, first of all, I want to thank City Attorney's Office for contacting me today. That was a plus. I applaud them for that. The other thing is, when you have a pothole incident and there's a damage done to your vehicle, the three things in order to either win the claim or get some sort of compensation from it is to prove that there was negligence on behalf of the city. I proved more than 3 times there was negligence on behalf of the city, not maintaining the streets. The pothole was reported 11/23/22. My incident happened 12/26/23, more than a month. The excuse that the third-party attorney, Don Chang, gave me was they didn't have enough time because of the holidays, and it wasn't a priority because it was a under 25-mile-an-hour speed limit zone. The damage to my vehicle, I guess, wasn't a priority. The damage to my passenger, his ear problem that he has now due to the airbags being deployed, I guess, weren't a priority either. I'm going to keep coming every other Tuesday until something gets done about this. Like I said, I've proven otherwise that the city or the maintenance crews found negligence to the city streets of Salinas. I'm well aware of trying to maneuver my way in Salinas now, in regards to when I do drive to work. Other than that, though, I just want to thank the city attorney's office for contacting me. I applaud them for that. But other than that, though, until I get a answer as in my compensation-wise of what's going to happen to my vehicle, because my vehicle is totaled. Airbags got deployed. My tire rods went into the engine. The pothole, like I said, got covered 3 days after the report, after I filed the claim. So other than that, I would like to hear some, more positive, rapid response. Thank you.
My name is Matthew Loggins, and he awarded the city attorney for calling him. I'm not awarding him. I haven't heard from anybody. I was a passenger in that car, and also, I want to say, you guys want to, you know what this is, right? This is a tax paying that you want me to pay for owning my home in Salinas, right? I'm not a homeless person. I bought my house back in 1999. And for the city to treat the taxpayers the way we have been treated is not humane. And I asked you last time I was here, Mayor, what are you going to do? You said that someone's going to contact me. No one have contacted me. This gentleman here, he said, oh, I got his information. Well, he must have don't have my information because he didn't contact me. So, like he said, I'm going to keep going and keep coming here until something get done. Like, I have a ear problem now, which I didn't have before. I get the hearing aid tomorrow. I got to wear hearing aids now because the ringing from the airbag is in my ear. And it's hard for me to sleep now because I hear the ringing in my ear. But that's not important because I can't wear a suit and tie, I can't look at a computer. So What am I? What you want me to pay taxes? I've been paying taxes ever since 1999. How come I can't get compensated for my year or compensated for his car? I'd like for you to answer that question.
My name is Olga Reina. I belong to Healthy Communities, Building Healthy Communities. I belong to District 4, and I'm happy to have the Zoom put in already, but we need to have it translated. We have a lot of participation in the Zoom and a lot of interest, but there needs to be translation in the Zoom as soon as possible. It's very important for the community, and we also need to have the agenda translated for the Spanish speakers, so that...
Ok, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Juan Aguilar, residente del distrito número 1. Y la razón de que estoy aquí en la Junta es porque quiero pedirles a todos los miembros del concilio si pudieran hacer estas juntas de Zoom también en español. Yo ahorita estoy llegando del trabajo y me gustaría pues poder entender todo lo que se está hablando para poder tener más participación. Ese es únicamente el motivo del que estoy aquí participando en este comentario público. Gracias.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Juana Aguilar, and I'm the president of District 1. And the reason that I'm calling in is just to ask you if these meetings in Zoom can be also in Spanish. I just came back from work, and I would like to understand what this meeting is about so I can have a better participation. Thank you.
Mi nombre es Nidia Soto, soy organizadora en la comunidad. Yo estoy aquí para pedirles y dejarles saber que estamos organizando en nuestra comunidad para que se involucren los residentes en la toma de decisiones de nuestra ciudad y participen, pero vemos una barrera en el idioma, en que no están traducidas las agendas, en que no están siendo traducidas estas juntas por Zoom. Y pedimos de la manera más atenta que tomen en cuenta nuestro pedido. Estuvimos participando en diciembre 13, 2022, haciendo este mismo pedido. Estuvimos en febrero 7, 2023, haciendo este mismo pedido. Que es importante que se traduzcan las juntas por Zoom, por la participación que quieren los residentes involucrarse. La alcaldesa estuvo presente en la junta del 16 de febrero, donde demostramos bastante participación e interés de nuestra comunidad en escuchar y saber cuál es el plan para nuestra ciudad, nuestro futuro, ¿verdad? Entonces, por favor, les pido que pongan atención en eso, ya que nuestra comunidad está interesada en involucrarse, pero el idioma es una barrera. Las agendas no están siendo traducidas y las juntas por Zoom, pues tampoco.
Good afternoon. My name is Nidia Soto, and I'm a community organizer. And I'm here to ask and to let you know that the community wants to get more involved. They want to participate more actively with all the decision making, but there is a barrier, and that barrier is language. The agendas are not being translated, and the meetings are not being interpreted. So I really appreciate if you would take in consideration my request. We asked this in the meeting of December 13, 2022. We also asked this for February 7, 2023. And there was also a meeting, February 16th, where Madam Mayor saw the interest of the community to participate actively in the decision-making of our city and our future. So I really ask you, with all due respect, if you can take into consideration our requests, because there is a barrier that is language, because the agendas are not translated and the meetings are not interpreted. So that is a barrier that does not allow us to participate fully.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Consuelo Rosales. Buenas tardes, alcaldesa y miembros del concilio. Pues también para tomarnos, que nos tomen en cuenta y que sean transmitidas estas charlas de Zoom, que sean traducidas en español, por favor, lo mismo que las agendas. porque nosotros, la comunidad se quiere involucrar más, quiere saber cómo están el sistema aquí de Salinas, pero no tenemos la manera de involucrarnos, sino es a través de que nos hablaran en nuestro idioma. Eso se los venimos pidiendo y ojalá que nos tomen en cuenta, porque sí es una necesidad que sean traducidas al español, lo mismo estas charlas que se hacen por Zoom. De antemano, muchas gracias y esperamos contar con que pronto nos las hagan en español, por favor. Gracias.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name is Consuelo Rosales, and I'm also calling so you can take into consideration about translating into Spanish these Zoom meetings, also translating the agenda. The community wants to get involved. They want to know what is happening in the system of Salinas, but we want to do it. But the language is a barrier. We want to hear it in our own language, in Spanish.
On that.
Yeah, so le quiero pedir disculpas a la comunidad. Como le digo, ya hemos dirigido el manejador. So, what I'm saying is I'd just like to apologize to the community. We've asked the city manager, and I guess my question for you, city manager, is will we have this taken care of by our next meeting?
I'm working with the city clerk to work through all the details where we want to get the agendas translated first and then certainly Zoom second, but they will both happen. It's just we're working through those issues right now. It's really about being technically accurate on the translations for both. We're committed to doing it. It's just we're working through that process. I will do everything I can to get a schedule out to the 7 of you to get a feel for how long this is going to take. We're just, again, city clerk and I are working on it. But it's a priority for us. We've been talking about it certainly since before December, but we're committed to doing it.
I want to start off by introducing the request to have our agendas be translated to Spanish. Just wanted to put that back on the minds of our city administration. Thank you. A buddy from Councilmember Osornio. There you go. Let's not break the Brown Act. I wanted to take a moment to really highlight the innovation behind this. This is an effort to change how we provide housing for people and how we address the issue of housing insecurity, especially for young families and children. As I expressed at our Housing and Land Use Committee meeting, growing up in a shelter or constantly moving around due to housing insecurity causes serious trauma for children and creates an experience that is not one that they deserve or, should experience. And so this really is going to fundamentally change how we approach issues of housing insecurity with families with children. And I'm a strong supporter of this approach. And I'm just so excited for the opportunities that are going to be provided to these families. And I would enthusiastically move this item for approval.
Just wanted to confirm that neighbors and local residents, there was outreach or there will be outreach done as to the project?
I will say no. And the reason why is because we don't want to create a stigma associated with these unsheltered not homeowners, but renters. And a lot of times people have impressions of people who are unsheltered, and it creates a lot of concern. This is not going to be any more intensive than just any average person buying a house that's for sale. We're not doing anything other than the density that would normally be allowed. So we can, but we try not to do that because we want them to feel comfortable. And unfortunately, sometimes that stigma will result in people saying, oh, that homeless family is there, and make it more uncomfortable for the children to adapt. So we do have to put it on obviously the agenda and so forth, but on these houses, we're trying to do a scattered site approach so that there's not a concentration. And we will, once it goes through, we would actually reach out to the neighbors to provide, here's who you call if you have any questions or concerns. But beforehand, we don't want to create a NIMBYism situation that would make that family uncomfortable.
And we're prepared to give this kind of response, and I thank you for that. Should there be concern in the future?
Yes, exactly. We want to make sure that we have a good neighbor policy and the neighbors know who to contact. Just like if you were a neighbor, right? When you move into a new place, you let your neighbors know who you are. We would facilitate that.
Thank you. At our Housing and Land Use Committee, we had this presentation come before us, and there was not an opportunity to provide formal direction in the form of a motion, but we were told that we could raise our concerns at this meeting, and that is with regards to how we're going to ensure that local artists are brought into the process, but also compensated for their time, because that's really important. I mean, if people are getting paid from Oakland to do work here, and we're providing opportunities to artists here, but those opportunities are not compensated, then it's not really an opportunity, right? And so I wanted to ask you, what are we doing to ensure that we are compensating local artists and involving them in the process?
So at this point in time, we don't have a specific game plan. You know, the item before you is to approve the contract for the preparation of the master plan. And the consultant, Urban Field Studio from Oakland, has committed to work with local artists. And it's in their budget to facilitate that coordination, but it's not currently in their scope to pay the artists for their work. That is something that we would need to look at our current Alisal Vibrancy Plan budget and think creatively as to how we can do that. We are committed to explore that recommendation, but at this time, we don't have a specific solution as to how to go about doing that.
Thank you for that.
But we're very committed to work with the artists and include them in the process and provide them those opportunities of employment.
I appreciate that. Mr. City Attorney, what would be the best way to go about, I guess you could say, formalizing that commitment to involve local artists and identify opportunities, if they exist, to compensate artists?
So correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Britton, but I believe that there will be other steps in this process to where the actual, for implementation of the actual work, like the artwork, for example, right? And so we'll be returning it to council after the approval of this agreement, provided it is approved tonight, and council can then incorporate those requirements, as Councilmember Rocha is requesting, into our processes, such that they can approve the agreement tonight, but then through subsequent direction from the council, they can require those things.
Yes, as we move to the implementation.
Yes.
This is the plan, the framework preparation, and as we discussed, you know, while these consultants are not local, there is commitment to support our local businesses, not just the artists, as we shift into the implementation mode.
Right, so the actual implementation pieces that we put together come back to the council, and we'll make sure that we incorporate them there.
My concern also as it relates to local artists was, you know, I went to the meeting that was held by the Monterey Bay Arts Council as to the mural project on the highway underpass. Beautiful art, incredible artists, had a great time looking at what was going to become of the area, the envisioning of just the beautification of the entire landscaping, everything. But the closest regionally of the artists was Santa Rosa. So we didn't have any local representation. And it's my understanding in speaking with local artists that I know, a lot of that comes from the lack of compensation. So I just wanted to echo Councilmember Rocha's remarks. Maybe it's a one-time stipend, maybe there's, you know, a payment that we can provide as to something. There needs to be something that can be done in that regard. And while I appreciate the agency's commitment to local artists, I've heard that before, and I just want to make sure that we're able to secure it and we're able to implement that with that consideration. And
Understood.
that would be my comments, and I'm ready to move the item.
Ms. Britton, and I have deep respect for your work, but when I see a lot of money going to someone from out of town, I'm sure they're highly qualified, no doubt. And I'm sure the screening process has been great. But you know, the way I know Salinas, there's a lot of people here, to some degree, wouldn't you say that they're, somebody's got to be qualified here to be able to take this kind of responsibility? Is there not?
So I think there's a difference between qualifications and experience and understanding of process. So there is no doubt in my mind that there are very qualified artists here in Salinas that do incredible, amazing art. However, we need to do a better job of educating them on our bidding process, on that preparation process, what they need to have in place in terms of business license, insurance coverage, experience in preparing proposals so that they can be more competitive in bidding. So I think it's not that they're not qualified, they just lack the experience or understanding as how to be competitive in the bidding process.
With what you said, is there any way, whether it's a workshop, or I don't know, your staff, like, you take a lesson and, okay, we're gonna guide you through the process, what you need to do and know in order to qualify?
Yes.
For $380,000.
We can definitely develop that training on Planet Bid, the qualifications to be under contract with the city. So those are all things that we've actually discussed and thought about and would love to implement to give them a more competitive edge.
Because you know what, as I read your report, there are going to be community meetings, there's going to be engagement. And I'm thinking, these professional individuals that know how to organize are going to get all the information from the people here, and I'm thinking, man, we're paying these people for information that we're giving them. You understand my feeling on that?
I do, and I think what we can explore is how the artists become more involved in the implementation component early on. So the consultant is committed not just to wait to the end of the master plan, but look for opportunities for installation and early catalytic projects. And the artists, we would bring those back to you as part of early implementation. And as part of that would, based on your direction, ensure that there is compensation for work that would be done on those projects.
And Ms. Brenton, sometimes I think about our consulting shelf, I don't know where it's at, somewhere with, I envision all these binders of millions of dollars of information that we paid for. We don't have nothing in those shelves that we can save $380,000.
No.
No?
No. Really what this is about is this comes right out of the LSL Vibrancy Plan. It's really creating and bringing to life that unique district that is the LSL.
Yeah.
As a historical, cultural, and artistic destination, shopping destination. So this is very unique, and I want to point out that there are many different components to this. There's district identity theme and branding, which is more the visual, the marketing of the area. There are corridor guidelines that are going to establish the look and feel of the public realm, the street and sidewalks, facade improvement guidelines to then incentivize the private sector and have cohesiveness along the commercial facades, as well as what I think, and public art guidelines. Yeah. How can we create a process and establish guidelines, again, for the local artists to be able to participate in developing public art, murals, other forms of art in the LSL. And it includes an implementation plan and strategy for maintenance. So it's while it seems like a hefty amount, and I would be honest, I did gasp when I opened their proposal, you have to look at what's included and where this is going to get us and line us up for future opportunity.
Yeah, so investment, well, yeah, it is a huge amount. Mm-hmm. My question is, with this almost $400,000, what's the budget look like? Okay, so, sometimes I get a feeling, yeah, we're gonna go out there and do great work. So we do community meetings, we bring in consultants, and before you know it, 1/3 of the money's already gone because the consultants took it. And I'm sure we call it investment, and then we get binders and information. So do you? Maybe I'm just tight. I mean, this
Yeah.
this is
Okay.
crazy.
From my perspective, this is really a roadmap that is really important because the Alisal Vibrancy Plan, it identified priorities, recommended actions, things that the community's vision for the Alisal. This takes us from 50,000 to 20,000 feet and gives us the guidelines that we need for implementation. And with this plan, we will be able to be more competitive for grant funding for implementation. Without a plan and without this cohesive vision and document to guide us, it's really hard to write a proposal seeking grant funding. And so, for example, with the Clean California grant, we were able to leverage $2.1 million because of the Alisal Vibrancy Plan, but we need this framework to actually implement that grant in a cohesive manner that's driven by the community.
After we, because you're going to call this investment, 380,000 investment, is there any more consultants that are going to be hired here outside of this? Oh, there is, huh?
Yeah, so we have issued and conducted interviews for a streetscape master plan for all the commercial corridors in the Alisal. And so the way to think about this is the district identity is more the look and feel of the street. And the streetscape master plan is more the hard infrastructure. And so it's performing all the technical analysis to look at what's the best construction of the street that accommodates pedestrians, bicyclists, automobiles, that fulfills our goals under Vision Zero. And so that is going to be coming as well. And we will have master plans for a master trail network as identified in our Alisal MOU, and a master plan for Cesar Chavez. So it's exciting to see the focus and the progress. And things are going to start to move quickly with this foundation.
How much have we spent in consultants versus how much money, how much investment dollars came in to the community?
I would ask that I come back to you with that question when we give our April 4th quarterly update on the Alisal Vibrancy Plan. That's something we're working on right now, and there are several moving targets. We haven't come before you to secure contracts, so a lot of things would be hypothetical at this point.
Thank you.
But on April 4th, I would be happy to report to date what we have on actual projects versus consultants.
Yeah, thank you.
So with the approval of this contract, the selected consultants will work with the community to really focus on guidelines that will set the tone for the Alisal, identify district branding, district identifiers that will then be seen on street banners, signage, guidelines for public art and murals. We have plans through the Clean California grant for monument signage at the two ends of the Alisal Street, as well as give us some cohesive guidelines for a facade improvement to really improve the commercial facade appearance along the Alisal Street. So this is really focusing on the implementation committee's priority of appearance.
Appreciate that. And I know that one of the questions that that I had asked was how many applicants did we actually get when we did the RFP? I believe it was 3. And
It was four. Only 3 moved on to the interview phase.
And then we selected.
Yes.
Okay.
And I do want to just briefly highlight, we did include community members in the oral interview process. They were the ones actually asking the questions and made recommendations on the selection.
And it was but it was very clear in the Housing and Land Use Committee that when it came time to implementation, that we would get stakeholders, businesses, everybody involved. Is that correct?
Yes. Give them the opportunity. We're going to have banners, signage, paint, all local
That's great. That's
opportunity.
great. Because when we think about the facade improvements, we think about the murals, the painting and beautification. Can we start seeing some of those items come before the Arts Commission? Mike, the reason I ask that is because I have had interactions with artists that would say that even the I guess the vibe or kind of like the illustration when you're driving in, do things, is that bench there or is that painting there? And they would really be able to be able to speak to that. Is there a way that we can see more arts commissions meetings happen this year and be able to have them give feedback on some of these things that happen with Alisal Vibrancy and when this becomes available?
I can't speak to the frequency in which they meet. I believe they meet quarterly, but I can say that, yes, they are part of the process. And the current mural that is being painted on the bread box as we speak, well, not at this very moment, but is underway, we did take the design to the Arts Commission. So we already are looped into that process.
Thank you.
Well, first, I'd like to ask that we get a presentation from Monterey One Water on a
buddy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It was brought to my attention, I'm not sure who it was, but a recommendation of our Q alert or a public portal so people could see what potholes are in process, maybe their streets, what sidewalks, just so they could pull up that list. I know we had something like that for sidewalks. And then Councilor Barrera read in my mind, actually it was written right here. I was asking for an agenda or workshop to navigate on how to respond to job proposals or RFPs. I think it's important that we try to get as much local residents and businesses to participate.
I'll buddy on that.
Thank you, Orlando. And then, of course, if we can get a presentation in the future on what and how open bids will be, or how they work, so we can better understand how our bids and contracts are approved and handled. Thank you.
I did attend the Salinas Valley Groundwater Sustainability Agency, in which we approved the tiered regulatory fee policy, and we received a presentation on the demand management assessment. And I attended the Community Human Services Board meeting, to where I'm happy to report that construction at the Schumann Hart House Shelter for Women and Families with Children, Women and Families with Children, is on schedule for July 2023. And we are continuing our fundraising campaign for the Schumann Hart House, trying to raise money for the first 2 years of operational costs, and we are at $1 million short of our overall $7.8 million goal, but we are on track.
And I'll tell you, the FFA students in Salinas and up and down the valley, Watsonville, Seaside, it's just they're full of energy, and they got more ideas and smarts than I think we do, which is pretty good. Also was in Sacramento last week. Stopped by the office of Assemblywoman Dawn Addis and Assemblymember Robert Rivas. So it was good. I brought them goodies from Salinas and let them know that we look forward to continued funding from our state partners there. Also got to visit with realtors last week at Digital Nest. We had probably 60 people in the room. It was sponsored by the Monterey County Association of Realtors, and it was just good. I think there's more transactions that happen in the Salinas Valley, but there's more dollar value that comes from the Monterey Peninsula. And this is a real spectacular thing. I think this is the third meeting that people that do title work and real estate transactions and mortgages were all kind of in the same room, and they're loving our city. It's good. All things good. And hey, to our team that's left here, thank you. Thank you to our city manager, to our city attorney. We're not all up here to just, bark out some new idea that you you may or may not agree with. We're up here to just represent the city and the good that we're doing, whether it's a filled pothole or a cat that's found. So we're at your service.
Mayor, attended the education and outreach meeting and was able to hear directly from Ms. Ana Ambris about the budget outreach efforts. I know that they're quantifying that data now, so really excited to see how much more we've improved, but I can tell you just by seeing how many folks participated in our surveys, how many folks participated in the in-person budget meetings. Really happy to see that that's following through. Also heard from Ms. Sophie Rome as to our strategy for the PIO position and expanding that office. Happy to hear that we've got someone on the horizon and that though Sophie does the work of 10, there will be someone else to help carry that weight. Very excited about the pedestrian beacon on Sanborn and Buckhorn. Got quite the few calls on how to use it already, and wanted to thank Sophie for being proactive in reaching out to La Paz Middle School, Alsa High School, Frank Paul Elementary, and Oscar Loya Elementary to make sure that students receive that kind of information and are able to be informed as to how to use the beacon so that we have all the more pedestrian safety. Received a lot of requests from residents who have shared that they're not partial to social media and looking to see if we can develop an account for Nextdoor for the city of Salinas. I know that there's different neighborhoods that tune in, whether it's Creek Bridge or Paseo Grande, but having an account that we can share that information directly to them. So if that's something that we can look into, Sophie, wanting to meet people where they're at. And wanted to just extend some appreciation as to how many folks showed up at the bread box meeting. And I think it speaks to the need for more translation devices for the city, because I know that we've got quite a large monolingual Spanish-speaking population, and we want to encourage them to come into this process. We want to make sure that aside from them feeling welcomed, they are included. And to that point, I will echo the call for Zoom translation. That's been several meetings that's been asked for. I understand there's a timeline, so I look forward to hearing from Mr. City Manager as to what the next update will be on that. But let's not lose that. That's incredibly important. Wanted to say thank you to city staff for conducting budget pop-up meetings in six different teachers at Alsa High School. We had presentations, and the students that I know received all sorts of goodies and prizes. We gave extra credit for folks to turn in their surveys, and it was really nice to see that circle come back to itself and have these discussions and then see them at these budget meetings.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of great community meetings. Looking forward to the State of the City meeting. And I want to thank my colleagues, for being out there in the community. You guys are doing tremendous work. Sincerely, you are. I want to thank Ms. Kristen Lundquist. Ms. Kristen Lundquist is working closely with the Dream Academy for their annual barbecue. She's put them at the Firehouse Recreation Center. I want to thank her for that. I want to thank Mr. Kerrigan and Ms. Kristen Lundquist. Gene Robinson Little League Park is getting a facelift. Thank you for that's fantastic. These parks impact hundreds of families. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank Councilmember Sandoval and Councilmember Osornio for going out there and doing some good work. Thank you for that.
I just wanted to go ahead and report that the Car Club Committee had their first meeting last week. Tony Barrera was talking about going on baby cruises already, and just really excited to have the folks that are on there. A lot of really good energy, and just glad that we can have a conversation about the growing and alive and well, I should say, car enthusiast committee here in Salinas. I would like to request to see if I can have support to have a presentation or an update on our arts ordinance, our public art ordinance.
I'll buddy that.
Buddy you on that.
Thank you. And then I would also like to invite folks, if you haven't, if you're inspired entrepreneur or you would like to open up a business, PACRO CDC, PACRO Community Development Corporation has a empresario program that will be starting next month, where they give a lot of really useful information, and it's a 10-week course on how to get started to open up your own business. So I'd like to invite folks to check them out on their website. Also, very excited to see our community outreach assistant position open, and would invite folks that are content creators and aspiring, artists and movie, all of the techie stuff. I invite them to apply for that job. Would like to congratulate Jacob's Heart for a 25-year anniversary, and I would also like to put in a request to see if we can get them a certificate. The work that they do is specifically in Salinas. About 75% of their caseload is actually from Salinas, and that's Jacob's Heart's folks that help out with wraparound services for families and patients experiencing cancer.
I attended and observed the budget meeting at the Bread Box. Packed house, like scrambling for more tables and more chairs, and certainly recognize the level of community involvement was really remarkable, and a great evening. So I want to say thank you to Councilmember Osornio. I know several council members made it out to a multitude of those budget community meetings, but it was great to hang out in the back and watch the community engagement. So thank you for that. A couple things on the Animal Shelter JPA that we are forming. The Animal Shelter Subcommittee, which has consisted of Councilmember Barrera, Councilmember Gonzalez, and the mayor, we are looking for a council appointee to the JPA. And it's my understanding that the city manager also has a seated role on that. So that will come forward to this council in the next meeting. Recognizing that we've changed the dynamics of it, I would say one of the three council members that's been on the subcommittee would probably make sense to sit on the JPA, but I will open that up for the interest of the council. Doesn't matter to me. If you have an interest, I'm going to ask that you reach out to Patty Barajas so that we can formulate a recommendation to come forward, I think on March 7th, if I'm not mistaken. With that, we have no closed session, so if I may take a moment of silence in memory of Officer J.D. Alvarado, who lost his life February 22nd, 2022. Moment of silence, please. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.